Welcome the candidates to this series on the Virtual Educational and Exam Preparation Hub. Wish them well on their hunt for a satisfying government dream job through successful appearance in the SSC CGL TRI exam. This is a curated model paper for practice for the upcoming SSC CGL TRI 2026 exam.
Yeah, it's really excellent to be here to dissect this material with you today.
Right, so imagine you're sitting at a desk, the clock is ticking, and you have what, exactly 36 seconds?
Roughly 36, yeah.
In that 36 seconds, you need to read a complex logic puzzle, deduce the hidden pattern, calculate the answer, mark it, and move on. 36 seconds. That is the brutal, unforgiving reality of the environment we are analyzing today. So for you listening, we're going deep into the architecture of a 100-question battlefield.
It really is a crucible of time management. I mean, you have 4 distinct sections, 200 marks on the line, and a strict 60-minute cutoff. The foundational strategy here isn't just about knowing facts, it's about triage.
Triage, I like that.
Yeah, because you're awarded 2 marks for a correct answer, but there is a punishing half-mark deduction for a wrong one. So blind guessing. That's a fast track to failure. You have to maintain forward momentum. If a math problem starts taking 2 or 3 minutes, it is actively sabotaging your overall score.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So keep moving. We're going to walk through this entire model paper sequentially, from question 1 all the way to question 100. But we aren't just going to read out the answers. We're going to decode the logic, the shortcuts, and the traps hidden inside each one.
Exactly.
Let's launch right into section 1. General Intelligence and Reasoning, which covers questions 1 through 25. The core theme here is pattern recognition.
And pattern recognition is something the human brain does naturally, but under pressure. We tend to grab the first pattern we see, which is often a trap. The smartest strategy for the analogy questions that open this section is to verbalize the exact relationship before you look at any of the options.
Before you even look, okay, let's apply that immediately. Question 1 gives us an analogy. Bee relates to honey, and we need to find what cow relates to. Now, I see options here like grass, calf, farm, and milk. If I'm rushing, I might just think, ooh, cows eat grass, and pick that.
Which is exactly why you form a sentence first. The explicit relationship in the first pair is producer to product. A bee produces honey for consumption, therefore a cow produces what for consumption?
Right, it produces milk.
Exactly. It doesn't produce grass or a farm. By cementing the logical bridge first, the correct answer, which is A, milk, becomes the only viable choice.
That actually makes the next one much clearer. Question 2 pairs library with books and asks us to complete museum with its counterpart. So following your rule, my sentence would be, a library is a specialized container designed to house books. So a museum is a specialized container designed to house historical objects or artifacts.
A perfect logical bridge. Artifacts, option B, is the correct answer. You just ignored the distractors because your structural definition was airtight.
Love that. Now we shift from words to math. Question 3 asks us to complete the analogy. 9 relates to 3, as 49 relates to what?
Here you have to test mathematical operations rapidly. To get from 9 to 3, you could subtract 6, or you could take the square root.
Right, and if we subtract 6 from 49, we get 43.
Is that a likely answer in a standardized test pattern? Usually not. But if we test the square root hypothesis, the square root of 49 is 7. And that is indeed the correct answer, option C.
Okay, question 4 is another number analogy that looks simple but requires a specific lens. 5 relates to 24, as 7 relates to what? My initial thought is just multiplying by roughly 5, but 5 times 5 is 25. Oh wait, 25 minus 1 is 24.
You've organically discovered the n squared minus 1 formula. This is a classic test setters trick. They love perfect squares and the numbers immediately adjacent to them. The first number is your n. 5 squared is 25, minus 1 is 24. Apply that identical operation to 7.
So 7 squared is 49, subtract 1, and you arrive at 48.
Exactly right. Option D.
Question 5 moves to letter clusters. We have the word SUN relating to the letters HFM, and we need to find the equivalent for MAP. How do I even begin to decode that in 30 seconds?
You use the mirror alphabet trick. If you haven't written this down on your scratch pad before the timer starts, you really should. Write A to M on one line and then write N to Z directly underneath it, but going backward.
So that pair is opposite letters.
Exactly. S is opposite H, U is opposite F, and is opposite M. It's a direct reflection. Applying this to MAPM is opposite N, A is opposite Z, and P is opposite K. The answer is A, NZK.
That brings us to question 6 and 7, which ask us to spot the odd one out. Question 6 gives us a sphere, a triangle, a rectangle, and a square. This feels more, I don't know, visual than logical to me. A triangle, rectangle, and square are flat shapes I can draw on a piece of paper. A sphere is a 3D ball.
Your visual intuition is mathematically sound there. Classification questions demand you find the common attribute shared by three options that the fourth completely lacks. Three are two-dimensional planar figures. The sphere is a three-dimensional solid, therefore A, the sphere, is the odd one out.
Okay. Question 7 is an odd one out with numbers. 64, 81, 8, and 27. These are all familiar numbers from multiplication tables.
Yes, but you need to look at their exponent structure. 8 is 2 cubed, 27 is 3 cubed, 64 is 4 cubed. They form a family of perfect cubes. 81, however, is 9 squared, or 3 to the power of 4. It breaks the pattern of being a perfect cube, making it the odd one out. Option B.
Let's tackle some series puzzles next. Question 8 gives us a descending letter series, Z, W, T, Q, and asks for the next letter. I just visualize a staircase going backward. From Z, I step back 3 letters to hit W. Step back 3 more to hit T, then Q. So from Q, minus 3 steps lands me on N.
A simple, consistent negative progression. Option D is correct. Question 9, however, gives us an escalating number series, 2, 5, 11, 23, and we need the next term. When you see numbers escalating like this, addition usually isn't enough. You need to look for a multiplier.
Right. To get from 2 to 5, I can multiply by 2 and add 1. Let's see if that holds up. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. 11 times 2 is 22, plus 1 is 23. It's a locked pattern. So 23 times 2 is 46, plus 1 gives us 47 is the answer.
Option A, 47. That combined operation multiply and then add is a staple of these exams. Now contrast that with question 10. The series is 4, 12, 36, 108.
The jumps here are much larger, much faster. 4 times 3 is 12, 12 times 3 is 36, 36 times 3 is 108. It's just a straight multiplier. So 108 times 3, 100 times 3 is 300, 8 times 3 is 24. The next number is 324, option B.
Precisely. It is a pure geometric progression. Question 11 is a visual recognition test. 144, 121, 181. If you know your math tables, this shouldn't require any calculation.
Yeah, I instantly recognize these as a countdown of perfect squares. 12 squared, 11 squared, 10 squared, 9 squared. The next logical step down is 8 squared, which is 64, option C.
Exactly. Question 12 is another series. 5, 9, 17, 33. This looks a lot like the logic from question 9, but slightly altered. Let's test your hypothesis from question 9. Multiply by 2, add 1. 5 times 2 is 10, add 1 is 11. But our target is 9.
What if we multiply by 2 and subtract 1? 5 times 2 is 10, minus 1 is 9. Let's test it on the next jump. 9 times 2 is 18, minus 1 is 17. 17 times 2 is 34, minus 1 is 33. The pattern is confirmed. So 33 times 2 is 66, minus 1 gives us 65.
Option D, 65. Brilliant.
We are on to coding and decoding now. Question 13 tells us that the word CAB is coded as FDE. We need to find the code for DOG.
Look at the positional shifts of each letter independently. C jumps to F. That's D, E, E, F, A, positive shift of 3. A jumps to D. D, C, D, another positive shift of 3. B jumps to E, which is also plus 3. The operational rule is simply plus 3 to the alphabetical position.
Okay, applying this to DOG. D plus 3 is G. O plus 3 is R. G plus 3 is J. The code is GRJ, option A.
Spot on. Question 14 is a substitution problem. If A is 1, B is 2, all the way to Z is 26, what is the sum of the position values of the word MAP?
This just requires knowing the alphabet numbers quickly. M is the 13th letter, A is the first, P is the 16th. 13 plus 1 plus 16 gives us a total sum of 30. Option B.
Straightforward arithmetic. But question 15 introduces a twist. It uses a reverse alphabet code where A is 26, B is 25, and Z is 1. It asks for the code for the letter C. You could count backward on your fingers, but that wastes time.
Is there a mathematical shortcut for reverse alphabet positions?
Yes, there is. Subtract the standard forward alphabetical position of the letter from the number 27. The standard position of C is 3. So 27 minus 3 is 24. The reverse code for C is 24, which is option C. That rule works for any letter and saves you precious mental energy.
Let's untangle some blood relations. Question 16 states, M is the daughter of N. N is the son of O. How is M related to O? I find the best way to not get lost here is to mentally draw a family tree.
Top-down visualization is the most robust method here. Put O at the top of your mental whiteboard. N is the son of O, so N drops down 1 generation. M is the daughter of N, so M drops down a 2nd generation. This places M 2 generational tiers below O.
Right, and the daughter of your son is your granddaughter, therefore M is the granddaughter of O, option D.
Exactly. Question 17 is a bit of a linguistic puzzle. A man points to a woman and says, "Her father is the only son of my father. How is the woman related to the man?"
Wow, okay.
To solve this, you have to parse the speaker's perspective. Isolate the phrase, the only son of my father. If the man speaking is referring to his father's only son, he can only be talking about himself. He is the only son.
Oh, so substitute myself into the original sentence. It becomes, her father is myself. If he is her father, then she is his daughter. Option A.
That's a great breakdown. Moving to question 18, we have a directions problem. A car travels 7 kilometers towards the east, then 24 kilometers towards the north. How far is it from the starting point?
When a path goes east and then north, it creates a 90-degree right angle, right?
Correct. The distance from the starting point directly to the end point forms the hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle. This requires the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. You calculate 7 squared, which is 49, plus 24 squared, which is 576. That equals 625. The square root of 625 is 25. The car is 25 kilometers away. As a time-saving strategy, memorizing common Pythagorean triplets like the 7, 24, 25 triangle allows you to bypass the calculation entirely.
That's option B, 25 kilometers. Question 19 is another spatial one. A person is walking east. He turns right and then turns right again. Which direction is he facing now?
Let's orient ourselves. Facing east, a 90-degree right turn points you south. From south, another 90-degree right turn points you west. 2 right turns equal a 180-degree shift, a complete reversal of your original direction. The opposite of east is west. Option C.
Question 20 asks about ranking. In a row, person P is 7th from the left end and 18th from the right end. How many people are in the row? If I just add 7 and 18, I get 25, but that feels like a trap.
It is absolutely a trap. If you just add the two positions, you are counting person P twice, once from the left side and once from the right. The reliable formula for this is left position plus right position minus 1. So 7 plus 18 is 25. Subtract 1 to remove the double count, and you get exactly 24 people in the row. Option D.
Question 21. What is the angle between the hour hand and the minute hand of a clock at 3:00? Just picture the clock face. The 12 is at the top, the 3 is on the right. That's a perfect right angle.
Your visualization is correct, but let's understand the underlying mechanics. A clock face is a 360-degree circle divided into 12-hour segments. 360 divided by 12 means each hour mark represents a 30-degree slice. At 3:00, the minute hand is perfectly on the 12 and the hour hand is perfectly on the 3. They are separated by exactly 3-hour segments. 3 segments times 30 degrees equals a 90-degree angle. Option A.
We are closing out section 1 with syllogisms and symbol sets. Question 22 gives us statements. Some doctors are engineers. All engineers are graduates. Then we have 2 conclusions to evaluate. Roman numeral 1. Some doctors are graduates. Roman numeral 2. All graduates are engineers.
You must use mental Venn diagrams here to avoid logical fallacies. Picture a circle for doctors. Draw another circle for engineers that partially overlaps the doctor's circle, representing the sum relationship. Now, the critical statement, all engineers are graduates. This means you must draw a massive graduate circle that completely engulfs the engineer's circle. Because the graduate circle fully contains the engineer circle, and the engineer circle overlaps the doctor's circle, the graduate circle must also overlap the doctor's circle. Therefore, conclusion 1, some doctors are graduates, is an absolute logical certainty. Now analyze conclusion 2. All graduates are engineers. Look at your mental drawing. The graduate circle is much larger than the engineer's circle it contains. There are plenty of graduates who fall outside the engineer boundary. Therefore, conclusion 2 does not logically follow. Only conclusion 1 is valid, which is option B.
Question 23 provides a statement. Keep your surroundings clean to prevent diseases. The conclusions are 1. Dirty surroundings can cause diseases. 2. Cleanliness helps maintain health.
This tests cause and effect reasoning based strictly on the provided statement. The premise links cleanliness to the prevention of disease. By inverse logic, the absence of cleanliness, dirty surroundings allows or causes disease. This supports conclusion 1. Furthermore, the act of preventing disease is functionally equivalent to maintaining health, which validates conclusion 2. Both conclusions flow naturally from the core premise. Option C, both follow.
Question 24 is set theory. In a group of 70 people, 40 play football, 30 play hockey, and 10 play both. How many play only football?
The word only is the pivot point of the whole question. The 40 people listed as playing football is a broad category. It includes people who play just football, and it includes the people who play both football and hockey. We are told 10 people play both. To isolate the purists, the people who play football and nothing else, we take the total football players and subtract the overlap. 40 minus 10 equals 30. 30 people play only football. Option D.
We end the first section with question 25, which involves symbol substitution combined with Bobo MAS. If the hash symbol means plus, the @ symbol means minus, the ampersand means multiply, and the % sign means divide. Wait, let me write this out. We have to solve a long string of numbers and symbols.
Step 1 is translation. Rewrite the equation clearly on your scratch pad using standard math operators. The sequence 24% 6 ampersand 5 at 3 hash 2 translates to 24 divided by 6 times 5 minus 3 plus 2. Step 2 is the rigid application of Bode may S brackets, orders, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction.
Okay, so we must perform division first. 24 divided by 6 is 4. The equation is now 4 times 5 minus 3 plus 2. Next is multiplication. 4 times 5 is 20. Now we have 20 minus 3 plus 2. Finally, resolve addition and subtraction sequentially from left to right. 20 minus 3 is 17. 70 plus 2 is 19.
That is your final verified answer, option A.
That wraps up general intelligence and reasoning. Now we plunge into section 2. General awareness, covering questions 26 through 50. This section is a completely different mental landscape. It rewards a vast, varied knowledge base and rapid factual recall.
Let me be very direct with the listener regarding Section 2 strategy. Do not agonize over these questions. You cannot logically deduce the date of a historical battle if you simply don't know it. Staring at the screen will not make the answer magically appear. You either know the fact, you can confidently eliminate obvious wrong choices to make an educated guess, or you don't know it. Answer rapidly and bank the saved time to use on the grueling math section coming up next.
That is crucial advice. Let's see how fast we can recall historical milestones. Question 26 asks about the Battle of Haldigati in 1576. It was fought between Maharana Pratap and the forces of which Mughal emperor.
This requires an understanding of 16th century Indian history. The Battle of Haldigati was a massive clash in Rajasthan. Maharana Pratap, the Rajput ruler of Mewar, mounted a fierce resistance against the expansionist policies of the Mughal Empire. The emperor commanding the Mughal forces, though his general Man Singh actually led the troops on the field, was Akbar. Option B.
Question 27 asks who founded the slave dynasty, also known as the Mamluk dynasty, of the Delhi Sultanate.
The Delhi Sultanate marks a major shift in the medieval history of the subcontinent, beginning around 1206. The founder of this initial dynasty was a fascinating historical figure, a Turkic and Scythian person who rose through the military ranks to become a general and eventually a ruler. His name was Qidum Uddin Aibak. Option C.
Question 28 asks for the arrival year of the Simon Commission in India. When I hear Simon Commission, I immediately think of the massive Black Flag protests and the chants of Simon Go Back.
And understanding why they chanted that is how you remember the historical context. The British government sent this commission to determine the future of India's constitutional structure. However, they didn't include a single Indian member on the panel. It was seen as a profound insult to the principle of self-determination, sparking nationwide unified boycotts across political party lines. This pivotal event occurred in the year 1928. Option D.
Question 29. Who is popularly known as the Grand Old Man of India?
This honorific belongs to Dadabhai Naoroji, option A. He was a colossal figure in the early Indian independence movement and a founding member of the Indian National Congress. What makes him truly memorable, though, is his wealth drain theory. He was one of the first intellectuals to systematically analyze and articulate how British colonial policies were systematically draining wealth out of India and into Britain, impoverishing the local population.
Let's transition to Indian polity. Question 30 asks which body conducts the recruitment exams for the All India services, like the IAS and IPS?
For anyone taking a government exam, this should be second nature. The constitutional authority mandated to oversee the recruitment of the highest echelons of the civil service, ensuring a merit-based, nonpartisan bureaucracy, is the Union Public Service Commission, or the UPSC. Option B.
Question 31 asks which constitutional amendment gave constitutional status to the Panchayati Raj system?
This wasn't just a minor administrative tweak, it was a massive restructuring of democratic power in India. Prior to this, local village councils existed, but they lacked formal guaranteed authority. The 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, passed in 1992, institutionalized grassroots democracy, mandating regular elections for village panchayats and ensuring the devolution of power to the local level. Option C.
Question 32 asks who is regarded as the first citizen of India?
In a parliamentary republic like India, there is a distinct separation between the head of government who wields political power, that's the prime minister, and the head of state who represents the ceremonial and constitutional continuity of the nation. The highest ranking constitutional office, and thus the first citizen, is the president of India. Option D.
Question 33 asks how many languages are currently listed in the 8th schedule of the Constitution?
The 8th schedule is the official ledger of recognized languages in India, reflecting the country's immense linguistic diversity. The list has evolved over time. Initially, it recognized 14 languages, but through several constitutional amendments acknowledging regional demands, the number has expanded. Currently, there are 22 recognized languages in the 8th schedule. Option A.
Moving to geography. Question 34 asks the smallest country in the world by area.
It is a unique geographical and political anomaly. It is an independent, sovereign city-state completely enclaved within the city limits of Rome, Italy. It serves as the spiritual and administrative headquarters of the Roman Catholic Church. That country is Vatican City, and it holds the title for both the smallest physical area and the smallest population globally. Option B.
Question 35 asks which continent the equator passes through.
Having a strong mental map is essential here. The equator is the 0-degree latitude line wrapping around the widest part of the Earth. If you visualize the globe, it cuts horizontally across northern South America, passes through the island nations of Southeast Asia, and traverses a massive wide swath of Central Africa. It is located far south of Europe, well north of Antarctica, and completely misses Australia. So Africa is the correct answer. Option C.
Question 36 asks for the longest mountain range in the world.
Many people default to the Himalayas because they possess the highest peaks, like Mount Everest. However, the question asks for the longest continuous range. This range was formed by the subduction of an oceanic tectonic plate beneath a continental plate, pushing up a massive wall of rock that runs along the entire western edge of South America. That is the Andes mountain range. Option D.
Question 37 asks about the location of Kaziranga National Park, famous for the one-horned rhinoceros.
Kaziranga is a conservation success story. Located in the floodplains of the Brahmaputra River, it contains the world's largest population of the great one-horned rhinoceros. Because of its unique biodiversity, it is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Geographically, it is located in the northeastern Indian state of Assam. Option A.
Let's touch on economics. Question 38 asks what the gross domestic product, or GDP, measures.
GDP is the primary dashboard indicator of a nation's macroeconomic health. It does not measure population or total imports or the number of taxpayers. It measures production. Specifically, it is the total monetary value of all final goods and services produced within the borders of a country during a specific time period, usually a year. It represents the aggregate economic output. Option B.
Question 39 asks us to identify direct tax.
To solve this, you need to understand the mechanism of taxation. An indirect tax is levied on transactions, goods, and services. Think of GST or a sales tax. The business pays the tax to the government, but they pass the actual financial burden onto the consumer by raising the price. The burden is shifted. A direct tax, however, is levied directly on an individual's or corporation's wealth or earnings. You cannot pass the burden of your personal income tax onto someone else. Therefore, income tax is a direct tax. Option C.
Question 40 asks for the headquarters of the World Bank.
The World Bank, along with the International Monetary Fund, was established near the end of World War II to rebuild the global economic system. These are known as the Bretton Woods institutions. Because of the geopolitical power dynamics at the time of their creation, both institutions are headquartered in the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C., option D.
We are diving into general science now. Question 41. What is the smallest structural and functional unit of life?
It's important to differentiate between physical units and biological units. Yes, everything is made of atoms, but an atom is not alive. The smallest entity that can independently carry out the core functions of biology, metabolism, growth, and replication is the cell. Tissues are complex communities of cells, and organs are made of tissues. The base unit is the cell. Option A.
Question 42 asks which acid is present in the human stomach to help with digestion. We know the stomach is a harsh environment. What specifically is doing the heavy lifting?
The stomach acts as both a chemical blender and an immune defense checkpoint. The gastric glands secrete a highly corrosive acid that denatures proteins, making them easier for enzymes to break down, while simultaneously incinerating most bacteria and pathogens we accidentally swallow with our food. That powerful chemical is hydrochloric acid. Option B.
Question 43 asks for the longest bone in the human body.
The human skeletal system is an architectural marvel designed for bipedal movement. The bone that bears the greatest mechanical stress, supporting the weight of the upper body and spanning the massive distance from the hip to the knee joint, is the thigh bone. Medically, it is known as the femur. It is both the longest and the strongest bone we possess. Option C.
Question 44 is fascinating. It asks for the hardest substance found in the human body. Most people might guess bone.
It's a very logical guess, but incorrect. Bone is strong because it is somewhat flexible. But think about the mechanical forces inside your mouth. Your teeth undergo immense, constant grinding pressure, and they are constantly subjected to acidic environments from food and bacteria. To survive a lifetime of this abuse, the outer layer protecting the crown of the tooth has evolved to be a highly mineralized crystalline structure. Tooth enamel is the hardest substance in the human body. Option D.
Question 45 asks which instrument is used to measure electric current.
Let's use elimination based on root words. A thermometer measures thermal energy or temperature. A barometer measures barometric or atmospheric pressure. A voltmeter measures voltage, which is the electrical potential difference. To measure the actual physical flow of electrons through a circuit, the current, which is measured in amperes, you use an ammeter. Option A.
Question 46 asks which vitamin helps in the clotting of blood.
When a blood vessel is ruptured, the body initiates a complex, cascading series of chemical reactions to form a clot and prevent bleeding to death. This process requires several specific proteins. A critical cofactor necessary for the liver to synthesize these blood-clotting proteins is vitamin K. Without it, the clotting mechanism fails. Option B.
Our final block in Section 2 is static general knowledge. Question 47 asks who designed the national flag of India.
The evolution of the Indian tricolor is closely tied to the independence movement. While the flag went through several iterations, the foundational design featuring saffron, white, and green, which initially had a spinning wheel in the center before the adoption of the Ashoka Chakra, was proposed by an agriculturist and freedom fighter from Andhra Pradesh named Pingali Venkaya. Option C.
Question 48 asks for the location of the Golden Temple, or Harmandir Sahib.
The Harmandir Sahib is the central, most revered spiritual and cultural site in Sikhism. The stunning complex, famous for its sanctum covered in gold foil, is built around a man-made pool. It is located in the vibrant state of Punjab, specifically in the city of Amritsar. Option D.
Question 49 asks which country is known as the Land of the Rising Sun.
This poetic nickname has historical and geographical roots. From the perspective of ancient China, the great civilization to the west, the sun appeared to rise from the direction of the island archipelago lying to their east. The characters that make up the country's name essentially translate to sun origin. That country is Japan. Option A.
And the final general awareness question. Question 50. On which date is Republic Day celebrated in India?
It is vital to distinguish between independence and becoming a republic. India gained its independence from British rule on August 15, 1947. However, the nation formally severed its final constitutional ties to the British monarchy and established itself as a sovereign democratic republic when its own constitution officially came into force. That landmark transition occurred on January 26, 1950. Therefore, Republic Day is celebrated every January 26th. Option B.
Take a deep breath, listener. We have survived the rapid-fire trivia. We are now transitioning to Section 3, Quantitative Aptitude, covering questions 51 through 75. This is the danger zone. This is where the clock becomes your worst enemy.
This section is the true test of your time management. Math demands calculation, but brute force calculation is slow. My advisory here is to look for the elegant shortcut. Rely heavily on estimation. If you calculate the first digit of an answer and only one option matches that digit, stop calculating and move on. Let's look at how to apply these efficient methods.
Let's start with percentages, ratios, and averages. Question 51 asks, what is 35% of 200? If I just follow the rote formula, I write 0.35 times 200.
Which is perfectly fine, but let me show you a mental shortcut that works without a pen. Break 35% down into manageable chunks, 10%, 10%, 10%, and 5%. 10% of 200 is just moving the decimal place one spot, which gives you 20. So 30% is 3 20s, which is 60. Now you just need the remaining 5%. Well, 5% is exactly half of 10%. Half of 20 is 10. Add that 10 to your 60 and you instantly get 70. Option C.
Wow, that's fast. Question 52 tests financial logic. A man spends 80% of his income and saves 4,000 rupees. Find his monthly income.
The key here is realizing that percentages are a zero-sum game. Total income is always 100%. If his outgoing expenditure represents 80% of his total pie, the slice remaining must be 20%. The problem explicitly tells us that his saved slice is worth 4,000 rupees. So we have our equation. 20% of his income equals 4,000. We need to scale that 20% up to find the full 100%. How many 20s fit into 100? 5. So multiply his savings by 5. 4,000 times 5 equals 20,000. His total monthly income is 20,000 rupees. Option D.
Question 53 asked us to divide the number 90 in the ratio of 4 to 5, and then find the larger part.
Ratios are about proportional shares. Imagine the number 90 is a pile of gold coins. You are splitting them into two piles. The first pile gets 4 shares, the second pile gets 5 shares. The total number of shares distributed is 4 plus 5, which is 9 total shares. If 9 shares equal 90 coins, then one single share must equal 10 coins, because 90 divided by 9 is 10. The question asks for the value of the larger part, which is the 5-share pile. 5 shares times 10 coins per share gives you a value of 50. Option A.
Question 54 asks for the average of 7, 14, 21, and 28.
The defining concept of an average is taking unequal amounts, throwing them into a single pot, and then distributing them equally. First, find the total in the pot. 7 plus 14 is 21. 21 plus 21 is 42. 42 plus 28 brings the total sum to 70. There are 4 numbers contributing to the pot, so distribute 70 equally among 4 slots. 70 divided by 4 is 17.5. Option B.
Question 55 adds a dynamic element to averages. The average marks of a student in 4 subjects is 70. If he scores 90 in a 5th subject, what is his new average?
To find a new average, you need the new total sum. How do we find the old total sum? If his average across 4 subjects was 70, you reverse the average formula. 4 subjects times 70 points equals 280 total points earned previously. Now he takes a 5th test and scores a 90. Add that to his historic total. 280 plus 90 equals a new total of 370 points. But now that total must be divided across 5 subjects. 370 divided by 5 equals 74. His new average has been pulled up to 74. Option C.
We're moving into profit, loss, and interest. Question 56. A shopkeeper sells goods at a profit of 25%. If the cost price is 240 rupees, find the selling price.
Selling price is defined as the cost price plus the profit margin. First, determine the absolute value of the profit. The profit is 25% of the cost price. 25% is mathematically equivalent to 1/4. What is 1/4 of 240? Divide 240 by 4 and you get 60. So he makes 60 rupees in profit. Now, add that profit back to his original cost to find what he charges the customer. 240 plus 60 gives a final selling price of 300 rupees. Option D.
Question 57 is where many people fail. A man sells a radio for 540 rupees, a loss of 10%. Find its cost price. A lot of test takers will just calculate 10% of 540 and subtract it.
And that is the exact trap the exam setter laid for them. Profit and loss are always calculated as a percentage of the original cost price, never the final selling price. The cost price is our unknown 100% baseline. If the man took a 10% loss, that means he recovered only 90% of his original investment. The problem tells us that this 90% recovery equates to 540 rupees.
Oh, I see.
So 90% of cost price equals 500. To isolate the cost price, you divide 540 by 0.90, a simpler mental method. If 90% is 540, then 10% is 60, right? Since 540 divided by 9 is 60, so 100% is 10 times that, which is 600. The original cost price was 600 rupees. Option A.
Brilliant. Question 58 involves discounts. The marked price of a shirt is 800 rupees, and it is sold for 680 rupees. Find the discount percentage.
A discount is essentially a loss calculated from the sticker price. First, find the absolute value of the price drop. 800 minus 680 is a drop of 120 rupees. Now express that 120 rupee drop as a percentage of the original mark price of 800. The formula is 120 divided by 800 multiplied by 100. Simplify the fraction. 120 divided by 8 is 15. The customer received a 15% discount. Option B.
Question 59 asks for simple interest. Find the simple interest on 7,200 rupees at 5% per annum for 2 years.
Simple interest is linear. It doesn't compound. The interest generated in year 1 is identical to year 2. The foundational formula is principal times rate times time divided by 100. Let's plug the variables in. Principal is 7,200, rate is 5, time is 2. So 7,200 times 5 times 2, all divided by 100. Multiply the rate and time first. 5 times 2 is 10. Now multiply that by the principal. 7,200 times 10 is 72,000. Finally, divide by 100, which simply removes 2 zeros. The simple interest earned is 720 rupees. Option C.
Question 60 shifts to compound interest, which behaves very differently. Find the amount on 6,000 rupees at 10% per annum for 2 years, compounded annually.
Unlike simple interest, compound interest is a snowball rolling down a hill. In the first year, the snowball gathers snow based on its original size, but in the second year, it gathers snow based on the original size plus the new snow it already picked up. You earn interest on your interest. The question asks for the total final amount, not just the interest earned. The formula for the amount is principal times 1 plus rate over 100 raised to the power of time. So 6,000 times 1 plus 10 over 100 squared. This simplifies to 6,000 times 1.0 squared.
Okay, and 1 point house squared is 1.21.
Correct. Now, we just multiply the principal by this growth factor. 6,000 times 1.21. 6 times 121 is 726, so 6,000 times 1.21 is 73C60. The total amount after 2 years of compounding is 7,260 rupees. Option D.
Let's tackle time, work, speed, and mixtures. Question 61 is a classic working together problem. Person A can do a piece of work in 15 days. Person B can do it in 10 days. Working together, in how many days will they finish it?
You cannot just average their times. You have to convert their total time into a daily fractional rate of progress. If person A needs 15 days to build a wall, he builds 1/15 of the wall every single day. If person B needs 10 days, he builds 1/10 of the wall every day. When they work together, their daily progress is added. So we add the fractions, 1/15 plus 1/10.
So we find a common denominator, which is 30. 1/15 becomes 2/30. 1/10 becomes 3/30. Add them up, and their combined daily progress is 5/30, which simplifies down to 1/6.
Yes. If together they build 1/6 of the wall per day, it will take them exactly 6 days to build the whole thing. Option A.
Question 62 is about scaling a workforce. 12 men can complete a piece of work in 9 days. How many men are needed to complete it in 6 days?
This requires calculating the total energy required for the project expressed in man-days. A man-day is the amount of work one man does in 1 day. If a project takes 12 men working for 9 days, the total effort required is 12 multiplied by 9, which equals 108 man-days. That 108 is a fixed quantity representing the size of the job. Now, the boss says the job must be finished in 6 days. We divide the total work required by the new, shorter time frame. 108 man-days divided by 6 days equals 18. You need 18 men on site to hit that deadline. Option B.
Question 63. A cyclist covers a distance of 90 kilometers in 5 hours. Find the speed.
This relies on the fundamental theorem of kinematics. Speed equals distance divided by time. The total distance covered is 90 kilometers. The duration is 5 hours. 90 divided by 5 yields a constant speed of 18 kilometers per hour. Option C.
Question 64 introduces a spatial wrinkle to speed calculations. A train 250 meters long crosses a bridge 150 meters long in 20 seconds. Find its speed in meters per second.
It is vital to visualize the physical event here. A train crossing a bridge does not finish crossing the moment its nose reaches the end of the bridge. The train has completely crossed only when its very last carriage clears the end of the bridge. Therefore, the total distance the front of the train must travel is the length of the bridge plus the entire length of its own body.
Total distance equals 250 meters for the train plus 150 meters for the bridge, which is 400 meters.
Exactly. The time taken to cover this 400 meters is 20 seconds. Now apply the speed formula. 400 meters divided by 20 seconds gives us a speed of 20 meters per second. Option D.
Question 65 deals with mixtures. In a 30-liter mixture, milk and water are in the ratio of 4:1. How many liters of water are there?
We use the same proportional share logic from the earlier ratio question. The mixture is composed of 4 parts milk and 1 part water, meaning the total volume is divided into 5 equal parts. The total volume is 30 liters. 30 liters divided by 5 parts means each individual part has a volume of 6 liters. Since the ratio specifies that water represents exactly 1 part, there are exactly 6 liters of water in the bucket. Option A.
We are into geometry and mensuration now. Question 66. Find the perimeter of an equilateral triangle whose side is 9 centimeters.
The term equilateral is the key. It dictates that all 3 sides of the polygon are identical in length. The perimeter is simply the total linear distance of the outer boundary. You just multiply the length of one side by the 3 sides of the triangle. 3 times 9 centimeters gives a perimeter of 27 centimeters. Option B.
Question 67 gives us the area of a circle, 154 centimeters, and asks us to find its radius. Assuming pi is 22/7, I know I have to run the area formula backward here.
Exactly. The formula is area equals pi times the radius squared. We plug in our known values. 154 equals 22/7 times r squared. To solve for r squared, we must isolate it by multiplying both sides by the reciprocal of 22/7, which is 7/22. And 154 divided by 22 is exactly 7.
Right. The equation simplifies beautifully to r squared equals 7 times 7, meaning r squared equals 49. Take the square root of 49, and you find the radius is 7 centimeters. Option C.
Question 68. Find the volume of a cube whose edge measures 6 centimeters. A cube is a 3-dimensional solid where length, width, and height are perfectly equal. The volume formula is the edge length raised to the 3rd power, or cubed. So we multiply 6 times 6 times 6. 6 times 6 is 36. 36 times 6 gives a total spatial volume of 216 cubic centimeters. Option D.
Question 69 asks about the properties of intersecting lines. 2 parallel lines are cut by a transversal line. If one angle is 70 degrees, find the measure of its corresponding angle.
This tests a foundational axiom of Euclidean geometry. When a straight line, a transversal, slices across two perfectly parallel lines, it creates 8 angles. The angles that sit in the exact same relative position at each intersection are called corresponding angles. Because the lines are parallel, these corresponding angles are identical in measure. If one is 70 degrees, its twin down the line is guaranteed to be 70 degrees as well. Option A.
Question 70 asks for basic vocabulary. How many sides does an octagon have?
You look to the Greek numerical prefix. Octa means 8. Just as an octopus has 8 tentacles, an octagon is a closed, two-dimensional polygon constructed with exactly 8 straight sides. Option B.
We have reached the final 5 questions of the math section, covering trigonometry and number systems. Question 71 asks for the value of the cosine of 45 degrees.
Trigonometry at this level relies entirely on your memorization of standard angle tables. You cannot derive this during the exam. It must be reflexive knowledge. The cosine of a 45-degree angle in a right triangle is mathematically defined as 1 over the square root of 2. Option C.
Question 72 asks for the value of the secant of 60 degrees. I know that secant is intimately linked to the cosine function.
It is the exact reciprocal of the cosine function. The secant of an angle is 1 divided by the cosine of that same angle. So to find the secant of 60 degrees, you first need to recall the cosine of 60 degrees, which is a clean 1/2. Now find the reciprocal. 1 divided by 1/2. Dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by its flip, so 1 times 2. The value of secant 60 degrees is simply 2. Option D.
Question 73 is a basic algebraic equation. If x over 3 plus 2 equals 6, find the value of x.
The goal of algebra is to isolate the unknown variable. We work backward, stripping away the outer numbers first. To remove the plus 2, we subtract 2 from both sides of the equation. This leaves us with x over 3 equals 4. Now, to free the x from being divided by 3, we execute the inverse operation. Multiply both sides by 3.x equals 4 times 3, which means x equals 12. Option A.
Question 74 asks for the lowest common multiple, or LCM, of 4, 6, and 8.
The LCM is the smallest integer that is perfectly divisible by all the numbers in the set. You can find this through prime factorization. Break each number down to its atomic primes. 4 is 2 times 2, or 2 squared. 6 is 2 times 3. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 cubed. To build the LCM, you must take the highest power of every distinct prime factor present in your list.
So the highest power of the prime 2 is 2 cubed, which is 8. The highest power of the prime 3 is 3 to the power of 1, which is 3. Multiply these together. 8 times 3 equals 24.
Yes. 24 is the smallest number that 4, 6, and 8 can all divide into cleanly. Option B.
And the final math question, question 75. What is the square of 13?
Just as we discussed in the series and analytic questions, rote memorization of squares up to 20 is a non-negotiable tool for speed. You should not be doing long multiplication for this. 13 times 13 equals 169. Option C.
Incredible. We have cleared the math crucible. We are now transitioning into the final 25 questions, section 4. English comprehension. This section tests vocabulary, grammar rules, and reading comprehension.
And this section demands a totally different kind of precision. English is notoriously tricky because casual spoken English often violates strict grammatical rules. Something might sound correct because you hear it misspoken on television, but on this exam, you are judged against formal structural rules. You have to be ruthless with your grammar.
Let's start with vocabulary. Question 76 asks for the most appropriate synonym for the word tiny. We need to find the word that matches its meaning.
A synonym is a word bearing identical or near identical meaning to the target word. Teeny describes an object of extremely small dimensions. Evaluating the standard options you'd see here, words like huge, giant, or enormous, are all antonyms. They express the exact opposite concept. The word small is the only valid synonym that shares the core conceptual meaning of reduced size. Option D.
Question 77 asks for the synonym of commence.
To commence is a formal verb meaning to initiate an action or to start an event. Words representing cessation, such as end, conclude, or stop, are antonyms. The direct functional synonym for commence is begin, option A.
Question 78 shifts the task. We need to find the antonym of the word praise.
Now we are hunting for the structural opposite. To praise someone is to express warm approval, admiration, or commendation for their actions. Words like applaud, compliment, or admire are all synonyms. We need the opposite concept, assigning negative responsibility or expressing disapproval for a fault. That concept is captured perfectly by the word blame, therefore blame is the antonym of praise. Option B.
Question 79 asks for the antonym of hope.
Hope is an emotional state characterized by the expectation and desire for a positive outcome. It is inherently optimistic. We must identify the emotional state that represents a total vacuum of optimism. While words like wish or trust are adjacent to hope, the state of complete loss or absence of hope is defined as despair. Despair is the true antonym. Option C.
Moving on to idioms. Question 80 asks for the meaning of the phrase to pull someone's leg. When someone says this to me, I usually brace myself for a joke.
Which means you intuitively understand the idiom. Idioms are phrases whose figurative meaning is completely divorced from the literal definition of the individual words. Pulling someone's leg does not involve physical contact or intended injury. Its established figurative meaning is to play a practical joke on someone or to tease them playfully and harmlessly by telling them something untrue. Option D.
Question 81 asks for the meaning of the idiom when pigs fly.
This idiom leverages absurdity because the anatomy of a porcine animal renders flight physically impossible. Describing an event that will only occur when pigs fly is a highly colorful, sarcastic method of stating that the event is an absolute impossibility. It means something that will never happen. Option A.
Question 82 tests spelling, specifically the word mischievous.
This is a classic trap laid by exam setters because the word's common pronunciation frequently corrupts its spelling. Many people pronounce it mischievous, inserting an extra I sound near the end. Consequently, they attempt to spell it mischievous. That is incorrect. The correct spelling eliminates that second I. It is spelled mischievous. You must divorce the spelling from the colloquial pronunciation. Option B.
Question 83 asks us to identify the misspelled word among a list of words containing I and E. Specifically, we were looking at the word weird.
This question is designed to test your knowledge of exceptions to established rules. We are all taught the mnemonic I before E except after C. Words like peace and niece obey this rule perfectly. However, the English language is full of historical anomalies, and the word weird is one of the most famous rebels. It completely violates the rule. It is spelled W-E-I-R-D. If an option presents it as W-I-E-R-D, it has fallen into the trap, making it the misspelled word. Option C.
We're moving into grammar mechanics now. Question 84 asked us to fill in the blank. She is interested blank painting. The blank requires a preposition.
This tests your knowledge of fixed prepositions. In English, certain adjectives are structurally bound to specific prepositions. There is no underlying logic to deduce. It is purely grammatical convention. When you use the adjective interested to describe an affinity for a subject or activity, it must always be followed by the preposition in. You cannot be interested on or interested at something. You are interested in painting. Option D.
Question 85 gives us the sentence, he is poor blank honest, and asks for the correct conjunction.
Conjunctions are logical bridges between clauses. You have to analyze the relationship between the two states described. Being poor is generally considered a state of disadvantage or a negative trait. Being honest is universally considered a positive virtue. We are joining a negative state with a positive state, which creates a contrast. To express contrast or opposition, the correct conjunction is but. Using and would imply similarity, so would imply a cause and effect relationship, but perfectly captures the contrast. He is poor but honest. Option A.
Question 86 asks us to select an article for the blank. He is reading blank interesting book.
This tests the indefinite article rule, which is frequently misunderstood. The choice between using a or an is not dictated by the first letter of the following word, but rather by the first sound of the following word. The word following the blank is interesting. Regardless of its spelling, it begins with the vocalized vowel sound I. To prevent the glottal stop of saying a interesting, phonetic rules dictate we use the article an to create a smooth vocal bridge. Therefore, it is an interesting book. Option B.
Question 87 asks us to identify the grammatically correct negative sentence regarding possession. We have to choose between constructions like she don't have, she doesn't has, and she doesn't have.
Let's dissect the sentence structure. The subject is she, which is a third-person singular pronoun. To construct a negative statement in the present tense for a third-person singular subject, you must use the auxiliary verb combination does not, which contracts to doesn't. This eliminates don't.
Right.
Now for the critical part, once you have conjugated the auxiliary verb into doesn't, the main verb of the sentence must remain in its pure, uninflected base form. The base form of the verb indicating possession is have, not has. Therefore, the construction she doesn't has is a double conjugation error. The only structurally flawless sentence is she doesn't have any money. Option C.
Question 88 is incredibly tricky. We need to find the correct verb for this subject. each boy and each girl.
I guarantee this rule trips up a massive percentage of test takers. The standard rule of subject-verb agreement is that when two singular subjects are joined by the conjunction and, like the boy and the girl, they form a compound plural subject, requiring a plural verb like were or are.
But this is an exception.
A powerful exception. When the subjects are preceded by distributive pronouns like each or every, the grammatical focus shifts from the whole group to the individual units. Each boy and each girl is treated by formal English grammar as a singular conceptual unit. Because it acts as a singular subject, it demands a singular verb. Therefore, plural verbs are incorrect. The correct phrasing must use the singular past tense verb. Each boy and each girl was given a prize. Option D.
Let's look at voice and narration. Question 89 asks us to change the sentence, "They will build a bridge," into the passive voice.
Active voice focuses on the doer of the action. Passive voice shifts the camera angle to focus on the receiver of the action. In the active sentence, they is the subject, will build is the future tense verb, and a bridge is the object receiving the action. To convert to passive, the object, a bridge, becomes the new subject. We then adapt the verb. The simple future will build transforms into the passive future structure, will be, plus the past participle of the main verb, which is built. So will build becomes will be built. Finally, we introduce the original doer with an agent phrase, by them. Constructing the final sentence, we get, a bridge will be built by them. Option A.
Question 90 asks us to reverse the process. Change the passive sentence, "The window was broken by the boy," into the active voice.
Here, the camera is currently on the receiver, the window. We need to swing the camera back to the doer of the action, which is hidden in the agent phrase, by the boy. The boy becomes our new active subject. Next, analyze the passive verb phrase, was broken. This indicates a simple past tense action. The simple past tense of the verb break is broke. The original subject, the window, now becomes the object of the active sentence. Stringing it together, the active form is, the boy broke the window. Option B.
Question 91 moves to indirect speech. We have to report the direct quote. She said, "I bought a car yesterday."
Converting direct dialogue to reported indirect speech requires a sequence of precise adjustments based on the reporting verb. The reporting verb said is in the past tense. This acts as a trigger that forces a series of back shifts inside the quotation. First, tense shift. The quote uses the simple past tense bought. In indirect speech, simple past shifts back one further step in time to the past perfect. Bought becomes had bought. Second, pronoun shift. The speaker I must shift to match the narrator, becoming she.
And the time marker has to shift too, right?
That's the most critical part. The word yesterday is relative to the exact moment the person was speaking. If you report this days or weeks later, yesterday is no longer factually accurate. Therefore, temporal adverbs must shift to descriptive phrases. Yesterday becomes the previous day. Combining all three mandated shifts, the correct sentence is, she said that she had bought a car the previous day. Option C.
Question 92 is an indirect question. He asked, "Where is the station?"
Transforming a direct question into reported speech involves an essential structural change. Direct questions use an inverted word order, placing the verb before the subject is the station. When you convert this into an indirect statement, you strip away the quotation marks and the question mark, and you must revert the word order back to standard statement syntax. Subject followed by verb. So, is the station rearranges to the station is. Next, apply the tense backshift triggered by the past tense reporting verb asked. The present tense is must shift to the past tense was. The resulting structurally sound indirect sentences, he asked where the station was, option D.
We are in the final sprint. Question 93 asks for a one-word substitution for a substance that kills germs.
This tests precision in medical vocabulary. While many substances interact with biology, their specific functions vary. A vaccine is a preventative biological preparation. An antibiotic is a medicine deployed internally to inhibit bacterial infections. The specific term for a chemical agent applied to the surface of living tissue to halt or destroy the growth of microorganisms' germs is an antiseptic. Option A.
Question 94 asks for a one-word substitution for a list of items to be discussed in a meeting.
It is critical to differentiate between the temporal phases of corporate communication. A notice is simply an alert that a meeting is happening. Minutes are the formalized, retroactive written record of what actually occurred during a meeting. They are generated after the fact. The document containing the itinerary of topics planned for discussion prior to the meeting commencing is the agenda. Option B.
Question 95 asks us to improve the grammatical structure of the sentence. He prefers tea than coffee.
This highlights one of the most widespread colloquial errors in the English language. Because the concept of preference implies a comparison, people naturally gravitate toward the comparative conjunction then, just as they would say tea is better than coffee. However, the specific verb prefer is a linguistic exception. It demands a specific preposition to link the two items being evaluated. You do not prefer one thing then another. Grammatically, you prefer one thing to another. The strict correction must be, he prefers tea to coffee, option C.
Question 96 is a paragraph jumble. We must arrange 4 sentences logically. P. The alarm rang loudly. Q. She woke up startled. R. She got ready quickly. S. She left for the office.
Solving a parajumble requires establishing the chronological chain of cause and effect. What is the inciting incident that sets the narrative in motion? The external stimulus. The alarm ringing, which is P. What is the immediate physiological reaction to that stimulus? She wakes up, Q. Once conscious, what is the prerequisite action before departing? She must prepare herself, so she gets ready. R. What is the final resolution of the sequence? She departs for her destination. S. The unbroken chronological flow is exactly PQRS, option D.
Okay, we have reached the final sequence, reading comprehension. We have a brief text about the sun. Let me read it. The sun is a huge ball of hot gases at the center of our solar system. It gives us light and heat, which make life on Earth possible. Without the sun, the Earth would be cold and dark.
The golden rule for reading comprehension is absolute fidelity to the provided text. You must act as if you know nothing about astrophysics or biology other than what is printed in those 3 sentences. Do not let external knowledge influence your answers.
Understood. Question 97 asks, according to the passage, the sun is at the center of our what?
We scan the text for the keywords center of our. Sentence 1 explicitly states, the sun is a huge ball of hot gases at the center of our solar system. The text provides the exact answer. Solar system. Option A.
Question 98. According to the passage, the sun gives us light and what?
Scanning the second sentence for the keyword light, it reads, it gives us light and heat. The text directly couples light with heat. The answer is heat. Option B.
Question 99. According to the passage, what makes life on Earth possible?
Returning to sentence 2. It gives us light and heat which make life on Earth possible. The relative pronoun which serves as a direct reference to the preceding subjects, light and heat. Therefore, according to the text's internal logic, it is the sun's light and heat that facilitate life. Option C.
And the final hurdle, question 100. According to the passage, without the sun, the Earth would be cold and what?
We isolate the final sentence containing the conditional phrase, without the sun. The text states, without the sun, the Earth would be cold and dark. The word cold is explicitly paired with the word dark. That provides our final answer, option D.
We did it. 100 questions deconstructed. Thank you for watching and following the winning strategies to solve various types of questions in all sections. If you enjoyed this presentation and found it useful, like it, share it with friends, and consider subscribing to our channel. Chandudasphere, good luck.
Before we conclude, I want to leave you with one final perspective. It is incredibly easy to view a grueling 100-question exam simply as an artificial barrier, a collection of random trivia, math tricks, and pedantic grammar rules designed to frustrate you. But consider the deeper anatomy of the test we just analyzed. You were forced to demonstrate logical deduction under pressure, to recall historical context rapidly, to execute precise quantitative analysis while managing scarce time resources, and to prove your mastery of clear, unambiguous communication. These aren't just hoops to jump through for a grade. These diverse capabilities represent the foundational toolkit required to be an effective, adaptable administrator in the complex machinery of government. Every single question, every deduction, and every rapid calculation is a microcosm of a future challenge you will be expected to solve on the job. Let that realization fuel your preparation.